Welcome back to Spark Talk. Today's video, I will be going over my favorite underrated free agents for the upcoming 2023 NBA free agency. With free agency starting on June 30th and league altering trades already happening, I want to give y'all predictions of who can be that next Bruce Brown or Jeff Green, a sleeper signing that can get teams over that hump. This is just my personal list along with my predictions of where these players might end up or where they might be a good fit at. With all that out of the way, let's get into this. So my number one player on my list is Brook Lopez, and he's coming off one of his best seasons as a pro, and he's 35 years old. He had his best points per game season since he left Brooklyn in 2017. He shot his best from three in his career, while also putting up his second best field goal percentage in his career. If you have watched Brook's game, he's very versatile in ways he puts the ball in the basket. He can play in the post while also being a floor spacer from three with his catching and shooting ability. On top of that, he's one of the best front court defenders in the league, making an all-NBA defensive team in 2023. He was tied for 6th in defensive win shares. He's a guy that is going to protect your rim while also being a reliable piece on the offensive end. One of the teams I have him going to is the Houston Rockets. Supposedly, they have a lot of interest and a lot of cap to pay him a lot of money, according to Wojnarowski from ESPN, and he reported that on draft night. The second team I think he could go to is re-signing with the Milwaukee Bucks, because they are in that championship window and you have Giannis there, and they've been so dominant in the regular season, and they also have a ring together that he may want to try to run it back with Giannis and see if they can get 2 rings in 4 years. But my 2 favorite landing spots for Brook Lopez is the Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors. The Mavericks could definitely use someone that can be a two-way big for them and also mentor Derek Lively, who they picked with the 12th pick in this year's draft. I just love the pick and roll and the pick and pop options with Luka and him, or if they retain Kyrie, him and Kyrie doing those pick and roll and pick and pop plays that can set up the whole entire offense and unlock the whole entire offense. For the Warriors, I think he fits what they want, and he gives them much needed size too. He can be a floor spacer for Curry and Chris Paul, or he can be that post guy for them that they don't really have on the team. I would have him go to the Dallas Mavericks because I would love that pairing with Luka, and especially because they need a rim protector and they need somebody in that front court that's going to be a dominant defensive presence. I think ultimately he tries to run it back with Milwaukee and tries to get his second ring with that franchise. My second sleeper this free agency is Fred VanVleet. He's coming off probably his worst season as a pro. His field goal percentage was the worst of his career since his rookie season, and he has his worst three-point shooting season of his career. What he brings to the table is guard play and experience. He's someone who can be a valuable piece to a championship team coming off the bench. He provides playmaking, scoring, and defense to a team. He's a very versatile player, especially if he gets back to shooting around 40% from three. He also had a career high in assists last year. If he decides to go ring hunting, I love him with the Milwaukee Bucks as a backup or someone that could play alongside Drew Holiday and Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton if the Milwaukee Bucks are able to sign him back. Also, he's played under Nick Nurse basically his whole career, and the new head coach for the Milwaukee Bucks is Adrian Griffin, who was an assistant under Nick Nurse in Toronto for 5 seasons. I love that fit for Milwaukee and him. Other teams that need a point guard is the Heat and the Clippers, since Chris Paul got traded to Golden State. I think he fits with that Miami Heat culture. He's undrafted. He's a guy that's going to play hard, and he worked well with Kyle Lowry in Toronto. The Clippers really need a point guard, and I think he can be that guy. He fits right in with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. The last time Kawhi Leonard and Fred VanVleet played with each other, they won a championship in Toronto in 2019. Just saying, it could possibly happen again if he's on the same team with Kawhi and offers that much needed guard play the Clippers have desperately been looking for since they brought that duo to Los Angeles. However, I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Bucks as his landing spot because of Adrian Griffin and because I think Milwaukee is in a better position to win a championship at the moment. My third sleeper this free agency is Christian Wood. He's an offensive guy through and through. His advanced metrics are actually pretty solid, and he ranks 87th in total win shares and is tied for 64th in per 48 shares. He actually has pretty solid defensive shares. He's tied for 96th in the league with the likes of Steven Adams, Patrick Beverley, and Kevin Durant. He, however, is going to make his money putting the ball in the basket. He's a really efficient big man scorer from the field and from the three. His true shooting percentage was the second best of his career. He was supposed to be that new number 2 for Luka in Dallas, but he ended up only starting 17 games last season for them. If he can stay consistent on the offensive end and still provide average defensive help, I think he could be a very valuable rotational player or a starting piece even to a contending team. I really like him at 2 places mainly. Number 1 is Golden State. He's from California and he went to UNLV, so he likes it there on the West Coast. He would be a great fit for Golden State and that second unit, especially as an alternative to the very defensive savvy Draymond Green. If Draymond decides to return to Golden State this offseason, they could also run their super small ball with Chris Paul, Seth Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, or Draymond Green, and they can add in Christian Wood to that to add a little bit more floor spacing to that unit. I just like those endless rotational possibilities it gives to the Golden State Warriors, and it also gives another offensive weapon that defenses have to respect in that Golden State lineup. And he could definitely open up more stuff for Klay and for Steph because he is so efficient on the offensive end. But the other team I like is the Philadelphia 76ers. I would love a pairing of him and Joel Embiid and have him as a rotational guy with PJ Tucker and someone who's a little bit more consistent on the offensive end. Something that shot them in the foot against the Boston Celtics in the Game 6 and Game 7 because PJ Tucker was really struggling hitting those open shots. Embiid can make up for that lack of defense from Christian Wood, and I would love this fit for him, and it allows him to be a third or fourth option on a team and be a key contributor also to that team. However, I really like him in Golden State. I like the endless possibilities that he brings to that Golden State lineup. And if Draymond leaves, I think he could be a very solid replacement for Draymond. Just a little bit different skill set that he could bring to the table, and that team would just be very, very explosive on the offensive end. My fourth sleeper in free agency is Seth Curry. He's a guy that's coming off one of his worst seasons as well. He's a scorer whose field goal percentage and three-point percentage went down this year. Also, this was his first win share season under 2 since the 2015-2016 season. I don't think he was a good fit in Brooklyn, especially after the Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving departure. What he brings is excellent shooting and someone that can come off your bench and put up 12 to 15 points a night for your team. He shot 43.5% from 3 in his career. If he doesn't continue his downward slump, he's going to offer a contender a great option off the bench when your stars aren't getting their shots to fall, or someone that can space the floor for your stars to drive. There's 2 teams I like a lot for his fit and the team's needs. I like the Lakers a lot. They need to add scoring off the bench, especially with the possibilities of D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves potentially leaving this offseason, even if they both stay or one of them does end up leaving, he would just be that much needed consistent 3-point shooter on their team, something that they haven't had since LeBron has been there. And the other team I think he would be a good fit at is the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks need someone to be a backup to Drew Holiday, and I like Curry's ability to play with Drew Holiday, with Giannis, with Chris Middleton, and Brook Lopez if they sign both of those two back as well, while also being a guy that can come off the bench and not skip a beat. I just think he'd be great alongside Giannis and the Bucks, and I think he fits a lot of what the Milwaukee Bucks want to do. I like him in Milwaukee. I just think he fits with that culture. I think he fits what Giannis likes to do, and he adds much needed shooting from the bench that they really haven't had since Grayson Allen has entered the starting lineup for their team. And I think he'd just be a solid addition to a team that is in its championship window at this very moment. My last free agency sleeper is Jay Crowder. Jay is someone that is a two-way player. He's a solid wing defender while also being a reliable shooter. Even though he played 18 games last year, he shot his best three-point percentage in his career. He's someone that's just a reliable backup wing that can come in and not miss a beat on whatever team he's on. There's a reason he went to back-to-back finals as a starter very recently. He makes winning plays and does whatever it takes to win. The first team I like him going to is the New York Knicks. They need a veteran that's been a playoff veteran and has made it deep into the playoffs. And he's someone that could help mentor RJ Barrett if they decide to keep him this season. He also adds a little bit more shooting to that wing situation in New York. He's a little bit better shooter than Josh Hart, than RJ Barrett. The next team I would like to see him go to is the Philadelphia 76ers. They need wing depth and a two-way wing off the bench. He's someone that can come in and fill that role of Tobias Harris for periods of time during the game. And I think he would fit in that unit with James Harden, with Tyrese Maxey, and Embiid if they decide to trade Tobias Harris at some point this offseason. And the last team I would like to see him at is the Sacramento Kings. He could give them another veteran on the team that has playoff experience and has made deep playoff runs. He even has more playoff experience than Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes hasn't reached the playoffs since LeBron's 3-1 comeback against the Warriors in 2016, before he helped the Kings break their long playoff drought this past season. He has a bit more defense and energy to that second unit for Sacramento, and I think he'd be a really good fit there. And I do like Jay Crowder in Sacramento. I just think he would be a great fit for what they need and how their team is run. And he adds a little bit of defense to a very explosive offensive team and much needed veteran and playoff experience that they need to win in these big games. Thank y'all for watching. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let me know who your favorite sleeper free agent is for the 2023 offseason.